Putin is betrayed because Belgorod, the most neighboring city to Ukraine, decided to cooperate with anti-Putin forces, and some of its residents are even thinking to join rebellion, at least in their minds. Besides that, the Z army suffered a crushing defeat in Crimea, and some of them even started to flee the peninsula. But more about all of this in just a couple of minutes. What's up, investors? It's the Russian dude. And let's get straight to the point and talk about some ridiculous Russian propaganda. Ooh. Okay, so yeah, today we have this picture of a tank which is made out of crepes. So we have this celebration in Russia called Maslenitsa. This is pretty much when we celebrate the end of winter, we welcome spring. So, and basically we eat pancakes or crepes, how some people call it. We call them blini. Basically we eat them with caviar, with butter, with red fish, salmon, anything you want, Nutella, you can add whatever you want. But that's not the main point. So this person decided to make a tank out of blini, which is like, okay, well, that's okay, kinda harmless enough, well, until you go to the comments. You open the comments and then you see, these Ukrainians, we need to send more tanks to our boys on the front lines. We still have to denazify this country. Why I hate Ukraine so much. That's pretty much the comments under a picture of a tank which is made out of blini. I mean, how is Ukraine related to this, but eventually some Z-Patriots, they always can connect the dots with Ukraine. And if you thought this was crazy enough, wait until you hear the very next thing. So, obviously Easter is coming. And what is usually happening during these celebrations? Well, kids usually go on Easter egg hunting. And right now also in our store, therussiandude.com, we have a Easter special, extremely special limited edition, the Russian Dude Easter hoodie. And so, if right now you buy any The Russian Dude pants and this hoodie and use a special code during checkout, the hoodie will be completely for free. And so you might ask, which code do you need to use to get a hoodie completely for free? Well, once again, it is Easter egg hunting, so just keep watching the video, and for literally a split second at a random part of the video, the code will appear on the screen, make sure not to miss it. This promotion is only valid until Sunday, March 31st, until 6 PM Eastern Standard Time, so guys, please hurry up, the quantities are limited. Right, now let me give you a very quick update from the south of Ukraine, where Russians suffered an enormous crushing defeat in Crimean Peninsula and even started leaving it. Then we're gonna talk about update from the east, where there are several achievements by Ukrainians, and finally, the betrayal of Putin by Belgorod region. And first of all, in Sevastopol, located to the south of Crimea, during these last several days, there were many very loud noises reported by the local residents. At first, the very first attack reportedly by Ukrainian drones was able to eliminate at least 34 Russian soldiers, and then also 3 Russian fighter jets Su-34. And almost pretty much the next day there was yet another attack against Sevastopol port, where reportedly 4 Russian ships were targeted. And the ones which were affected are the ships called Yamal, which suffered critical damage. It was even reported that the water started coming inside, so Russians had to pump it out. And then the 2 more ships which have suffered either minor or medium damages were Azov and Ivan Hurs. And yes, you guessed it, there was more, because some more loud noises were reported by local residents coming from Gvardeyskaya, where reportedly there is a fuel storages of Russians, and according to these satellite images, they were able to destroy at least 3 fuel tanks. As you can see, these attacks were happening deep inside Crimean Peninsula, which basically means that Ukrainians were using long-range metallic cylinders and drones. And this forced some of the Russian forces to even start fleeing the Crimean Peninsula. As you can see from these images, entire trucks full of munition, weapons, and obviously the infantry started to leave the peninsula in the directions most likely the territory of Russia itself, something like Krasnodar, as you can see right here. Pretty much trying to get as far away as possible from the attacks by Ukrainians. Couple of last things from the south of Ukraine before we switch our attention to the east. And first of all, right here is the video of Ukrainians using HIMARS to destroy a local small command post of Russians, which they use to control guided bombs, which are called GLSDB. Then is this next video, most likely also from the southern front lines, where Ukrainians are using drones to first of all destroy one of Russian infantry fighting vehicles, and then yet another video where they used to destroy a multiple launch rocket system of Russians called Grad. And ultimately, here are the pictures from Odessa, where Ukrainians also started to build extensive fortifications, which include reinforced with concrete trenches and also the dragon teeth. Which, yes, at this point it might look like Odessa is not going to be invaded by Russians, it is pretty far from the active front lines, but you know how the saying goes. It is better to have this protection right now and not need it, rather than not have the defenses and actually need them. Alright, now as promised, let's switch our attention to the east of Ukraine, but first guys, if you don't mind and if you would like to help my work, the simplest, the easiest way to do it is to just like this video and subscribe to my channel. Nothing else I'm asking you to do, because this will help a little bit with the YouTube algorithm to show my videos to more people. I really want your help to show the rest of the world that not every single Russian is a Putin supporter, and once again, the easiest way to do it is to simply like this video and subscribe to my channel. So guys, thank you so much. You can also follow me on Instagram. I will follow some of you back. The link is down below. And just one quick thing to mention from the territory of Russia before talking about the east of Ukraine is that Ukrainians were able to destroy yet another oil refinery of Russians located in Rostov, approximately right here, which brings the total number of Ukrainian attacks against two Russian refineries to more than a dozen at this point, reducing the total output of Russian oil industry to 7%. This might not sound significant, but just think about it. One of the biggest income of the Russian military budget comes from selling oil. Obviously that's not the only thing, but it's a big part of it. So just reducing it by 7% means that millions of rubles will not be spent equipping Russian soldiers fighting in Ukraine. And as always, in response to that, Russians were attacking civilian areas around Ukraine, such as, for example, one of the most recent attacks happened in Kiev, where Russians did use hypersonic metallic cylinders called zircon, which unfortunately and obviously Ukrainians were not able to intercept, resulting in the total destruction of one of civilian neighborhoods. There is no military targets where Russians were attacking, it's as simple as that. Then we go to the actual eastern front lines, and our first stop brings us to Terny, where, as you can see from this video, elite Ukrainian soldiers from Azov Brigade were able to use night vision drones and destroy several Russian tanks. And then another very interesting video is that right here we can see two abandoned Russian mine trawlers, which main purpose is to clear the field from mines, and the reason they're abandoned it is because they were destroyed by mines, however ironically it sounds. And also Ukrainians obviously did not want Russians to go and pick them up, to restore them and reuse them in the front line, so they simply use drones to destroy them as well. And then right here is the video from the forest areas in Liman region, where Ukrainians using armored vehicles are pushing the positions of Russians. Very intense, to be honest, video, which is like more than 3 minutes long. It has a combination of the body cam footage, GoPros, first-person combat activities, drone footage, you name it. Very intense 3 minutes. Ukrainians are successful in the end. Guys, very highly recommending you to see it. The full uncensored version along with hundreds of extra footage, as always, is on my Patreon, the link is down below. Next, according to Ukrainians fighting in the eastern front lines, they were able to repel a total of 8 attacks of Russians, which were from between Klishivka and Andriivka, and as you go a little bit more to the south to Avdiivka front line, in this small settlement called Toninke, Russians were trying to advance, and first of all, Ukrainians were able to destroy 3 Russian tanks using mostly drones, and Russians were like, well, let's just send more tanks exactly in the same direction. This is what they did, and then eventually they ended up losing 2 more tanks. Well, that's very questionable military decision, but Ukrainians do not complain. And ultimately, right here is the bird's eye view of Arlivka, which unfortunately, as you can see, is full of craters from the combat activities, which is like the signature move of Russians liberating Ukrainian cities. But without a doubt, the most extraordinary event of the last several days is that people of Belgorod, at least in their minds, they started to betray Putin and join the cause of rebellions. And this is exactly what I mean. So first of all, it started with, at this point, routine daily loud noises inside Belgorod city, according to the local residents, and then there was a statement by one of the main propagandists of Russia, Solovyov, which basically said at this point, I am just tired of those people complaining, those nasty complainers, they're whining like pigs, squealing like it's so, I just cannot listen to this. Why are you whining? There's nothing happening. And obviously this made the residents of Belgorod to be pretty furious, to say the least. They invited Mr. Solovyov like, well, if you think this is nothing, if you think like nothing extraordinary happens, okay, just come to our city, try to record one of your propagandistic episodes inside Belgorod. Solovyov did not respond anything to this. Who would have thought? And just once again, and rightfully so, a lot of Belgorod residents were like, well, is this the government we are supporting? Is this the propagandist we are watching on TV every single day? Like, it does not look like they care about us that much. Like, they said that they will be destroying Ukrainians, and then whenever we are in danger, they completely do not care about us. They do not do anything to protect us. So I would assume many people, they start to actually think that the cause of anti-Putin forces, once again, Freedom of Russia Legion, Russian Volunteer Corps, Siberian Battalion to name the list, a lot of Belgorod residents, they actually started to think that maybe whatever they are doing, it's not that bad after all. Putin was saying so many lies on the screen, and literally whenever his own country is under attack, he is like doing nothing. His propagandists are making fun of those people. I mean, like, it will be just obvious to start questioning things, at least inside your head. And then something even more interesting happened. According to the heads of those neighboring regions and cities, the ones from the Russian side, they did actually announce and try to accelerate the evacuation of civilians from those areas, despite whatever Russian authorities were telling them. They were saying there is nothing happening, there shouldn't be no panic, there is no need for evacuation, we are not allowing civilians to leave the city. Well, those people, they said, we don't care, guys, please be careful, please start evacuating. And once again, anti-Putin forces, they supported this decision by those maybe even new anti-Putin authorities, and they said that finally some reasonable thing is achieved, finally some reasonable decision is taken within the Russian authorities, which is once again protecting the lives of civilians and not using them as a human shield. Because yes, after all, right here is one of the most recent picture from Kozinka, which, if you remember from last of my several episodes, is being destroyed by Russians, not anti-Putin forces. Even the local residents themselves, they did acknowledge that it was Russian planes dropping munition on top of their houses when it's like literally there's no anti-Putin forces inside, and Russian forces still decide to destroy them. And well, this is how it looks. So as you can see, the Z army does not only destroy Ukrainian cities, it destroys their own settlements as well. And well, what about the Russian freedom fighters themselves? Well, they continue to try and go deeper inside the territory of Russia every single day. And right here, for example, is the video whenever they're using infantry fighting vehicle and are pushing the positions of Russians all the way until the control point on the edge of Belgorod, which is the city bordering next to Ukraine. And as you can see, they are pretty much on the outskirts of this settlement, at least at the moment of recording this video. And then another video is whenever they're using anti-tank guided missiles against Russian military vehicles. So as you can see, they are making slow but progress towards getting closer and deeper inside Russia. Guys, also once again, please subscribe to my channel because I do feel like we will see an escalation very soon. Don't forget about this huge promo for free Easter hoodie, and if you missed the code, it was shown not that long time ago, just put back video a couple of minutes before. Also don't forget about Patreon, where there is early access to uncensored The Russian Dude episodes. Thank you so much for your attention and see you tomorrow.